Why this convoy to Calais?
Well, have I come here today? I've come to the convoy because I think our governments, both European governments, governments all over the world, aren't doing enough to help refugees who are fleeing war-torn and life-threatening situations. And we should be allowed to at least deliver some aid to them. And so I'm really disappointed with the French authorities who've banned this convoy 2 days before it was due to happen.
The People Assembly against austerity. What do you expect from this demonstration?
Well, I think we're showing national solidarity across the UK. People's Assembly, Stand Up to Racism. We're trying to show that there are people in France the refugees who need aid, and they've been put there by policies of the West. And all we're trying to do is deliver aid to these people and get people who aren't allowed a proper view in the West because they only get one side of the argument. So this will actually show that there are thousands, millions of people that support the refugees.
What do you expect from this demonstration?
I think the people need to know that there are people suffering because of all the wars Britain has engaged in, and now we have refugees and we have an obligation to them. So we need to help them.
Raise awareness for the plight of the refugees.
Do you think that the government could change mind?
Very much doubt it. This government hasn't got a mind, or only got half a mind, so I don't think they will change.
Who could change the situation?
More public awareness of the plight of the people. People having to change their attitudes towards the cause of the refugees and actually recognise them as refugees and not as economic migrants, and that realising that we have a duty to help them because basically it's our fault. We created the wars that ruined their homes, ruined their businesses, killed their families and drove them to the desperate state of trying to get a position in Europe, in a safe haven in Europe.
Black activists are rising against the cuts. You're going to Calais, I'm not surprised, but try to explain better your reasons.
Well, basically, we've been out there a few times and there's a need for convoys like this because, the refugees are in horrible conditions over there, and I think we've got a duty to help them out as the best way we can.
The struggle of refugees is the same struggle of black communities in Britain, the ones who are maybe also already citizens.
Yeah, absolutely. There are similarities, but there are differences. I think I think certainly in Calais, the conditions are really, really terrible out there. I mean, there's poverty and there's difficulties over here, but I think there's particular issues over there where I think there's a particular need for assistance. That's why we go out there. And we go out there quite regularly now. We do regular convoys out there. We do our own separate, independent work out there as well.
You came from Surrey to London and now we are going to Calais. Why?
Because there are people there who are hungry and don't have enough clothes and they need supplies. And also want to show people that we're not racist and we welcome refugees.
In many other European nations, the attitude to refugees and to migrants in general is very different, is more hostile. But here in Britain it looks very friendly. Why? The people's attitude, I don't say the government's attitude.
I don't know. I bet if you looked at any of those countries you could find individuals who also were open-hearted. I can't account for why other people have a different attitude.
You left Manchester at 3:45, then you reach London, now you are going to Calais. Why to do all this?
Because we want to highlight the plight of the refugees that are being kept in inhumane conditions in the camps in Calais and other camps across Europe. We don't think it's good enough that our governments are just leaving them to sit there and not doing something and accepting more refugees into our country.
Do you think that the British government will change mind?
Well, we hope so. That's what this protest is intended for, to raise the awareness of the refugees and to say to our government they're not doing enough.
There are 157 children in Calais in the camps who have the right to come to Britain. They have families in Britain. That's just to start with. We should be opening the borders to refugees who are in great need.
Yes, I think it's very important for any country to open its borders to refugees. Diversity makes any country better, and it's very important that we can help these people the best that we can, and so I'm so glad that London is doing what they're doing to help.
Moise, you are a student, you are coming here to demonstrate, to welcome refugees to Britain. Why?
It's important to have people who are fleeing extremism, who are fleeing violence, to get them to have a safe place where they can come and feel welcome and start to rebuild their lives, if only temporarily, until the situation back home improves, and then they can go back if they'd like to go again. So that's why it's important to help people right now.
What do you think about the killing of Joe Cox?
I think it was a really sad event, and it was shocking that something like that could happen. Our thoughts and prayers are with her family and everybody at this time, and it was a tragic event, but what's important to remember is that she stood for openness and she stood for inclusivity in the community, and it's important to take her work and carry it forward.
Jenny from Birmingham, you came here to London to demonstrate. I suppose you wake up this morning very early.
Yeah, 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock this morning.
Why? Why to do all this for refugees?
Just to show support. We wanted to come on the car and do the convoy, but the ferry got booked up, so we would have come for that as well. But just to show support, really, because we need more people to be showing support.
The reason of this commitment?
Well, because we should be like helping the refugees. They're just not getting enough help at the moment. Basically, they don't seem to be putting much on the news about it at the moment. We're getting all the EU. That's pretty much most of what we're getting on the news at the moment. Not there's people dying and like thousands of people. Yeah, that's it. It's very sad.
Jenny from Stoke-on-Trent, you wake up too very early to be here in London. Why to do all this for people who are not Britons, people you don't know, who are foreigners, but you are struggling like many other people here in London? Why?
I just think it's important to come and show a bit of solidarity and support in a time when particularly politically at the moment, the refugee agenda is slipping in the mainstream media when you compare it to the EU referendum. We're talking about closing the borders when really it's a time when we should be opening the borders and helping people that need the help. We can afford to help them, we've got space for them, and we want to show the refugees and the people of the world that not everyone supports the closing of the borders. We're here to help, and we can help and we should help, and the more people that get involved the better.
Bombing as well.
Yeah.
Bombing Syria as well. We're part of the war there. Like, even though we're supposed to be helping, obviously, it's not necessarily. It's a lot of side to it that we don't actually see in the news. We are quite blinded a lot of the time with our media, but essentially all we can do now is help each other, help. There's not much else we can do. If they're going to be bombing Syria, then we have to take some sort of responsibility for that.
What's the attitude to refugees in a small city like Stoke-on-Trent, where you're coming from?
Yeah, Stoke-on-Trent, it's like a lot of small northern towns. They were ex-industrial towns. They're very run down, it's very poor there. And people know that things are hard and they don't know who to blame, and you've got the media sort of point you, they direct you to these people and scapegoat them, and they make them believe that they're the problem. And the thing is, with places like Stoke, people are uneducated, people are poor. They don't know why things are bad. They just know that things are bad, times are hard, and they're looking for someone to blame.
Why are things bad, according to you?
It's a lot of our industry, especially in the north, hasn't received financial support the same way that you do in London. So things have Stoke-on-Trent particularly was a pottery, clay and mining town. All of that industry is gone now. We have more closed down businesses and industry than most cities in Britain, but it's the same all over the north in general. And when things get hard and things get bad, people look for someone to blame, and unfortunately they're an easy target really, and they're led to believe that way by the Tory government, and that's why this anti-refugee sentiment has come about. Yeah.